Hello everyone, welcome to Lukman IS. Today we are going to start with the Hindu analysis lectures, and today is 18th June. Let us straight away start with what are important news. You can see important articles from today's lecture, today's newspaper. So we have divided the topics related to mains examination and prelims examination. These are titles of the articles and the page number. One by one we are going to deal with these articles, and we will see what kind of inputs that we can take from these articles for our examination. So first of all we will see which are the articles important for your mains examination, and then we will see important articles for your prelims examination. Okay. So first and foremost developments that we can see in today's newspaper is that India-China standoff and the unfortunate death of 20 Indian soldiers. The front page news, you can see that they are covered with this news, and for the first time Prime Minister of India commented on this after the developments. Now first of all we will see some important topics related to that India-China standoff today, and then we will see another important topics. Okay, so this is the article in editorial page by Suhasini Haidar. Very important article and very let's say informative, as well as for your GS mains examination, international relations, as well as those with optional political science. So which are the keywords which we should look for? The article page number 6. For first few days I will be showing you at what place the article has appeared. This is the article, okay, the page number 6 editorial, this article. Now let us quickly look at the keywords that have appeared in this article. You can see that the first keyword is that 5 fingers of Tibetan palm. Now the article talks about what is Tibetan let's say palm, that China's policy talking about the palm of right hand, palm of right hand is considered as Tibet, and then there are 5 territories that it wants to talk as 5 fingers. Okay, so we will go into details of that, but just first of all keywords. Panchashil agreement, a very important development between India and China in the initial years 1954. Then Indian Frontier Administrative Service, which started as a pilot project in mid 1950s, then the annexation of Sikkim and the 22nd state of India declaring it as in 1975, Treaty of Perpetual Peace and Friendship in 1949 between India and Bhutan. Then there is India-Bhutan Friendship Treaty, which renewed this earlier treaty in 2007 and modified it. Treaty of Peace and Friendship between India and Nepal, and India's policy towards Tibet, and CPEC, which frequently comes in news. All these are keywords. Whenever in future you find such keywords in the article, you should follow up on these topics. Now what the article is talking about, see here the essence of article. It talks about Mao's in 1950s. The Mao, who was the president of China, he had one 5-finger policy. You can see the diagram, and in that 5-finger policy the palm was Tibet. Suppose here there is China's territory and it considered Tibet as its right hand or the palm of right hand, and look at these territories, 1 finger westernmost Ladakh, then Nepal, then Sikkim, then Bhutan, and then Arunachal Pradesh, or Northeast Frontier Agency, NEFA it is called as. Now they considered these as 5 fingers or 5-finger policy, and they wanted these 5 territories to be included in India, let's say China. This was the policy of Mao. Now in early years in 1950s and 60s, what was India's response to this policy? India's 3-pronged foreign policy. Now in this 3-pronged foreign policy, you can see the 3 branches here: managing the borders, outreach and treaty, and India's foreign policy. Now the article talks about managing the borders. Here managing the borders effectively and efficiently we can understand from that. If we see the earlier slide, here we had Indian Frontier Administrative Service. Now, this service was specifically inducted for managing the border effectively. Now, this service had the, let us say, civil servants from IAS, IFS and IPS. They were deputed to this new administrative service in that region or the frontier regions, and yes, they were let's say efficient civil servant, and they through dialogue and their we can say their ability to manage these conflicts at the border, this proved very effective. But later on, this pilot project or the project was discontinued and its responsibility was given to Army and Border Road Organization. Basically, this service was created for the infrastructure building along the border. Infrastructure building along the border in initial years. So, managing the borders, so focus was infrastructure creating, but later on it was delegated to Army and Border Road Organization. So, this was first policy. Second policy, outreach and treaties. Now, in outreach and treaties, they are talking about the initial years. India had very favorable or let us say good outreach with Nepal and Bhutan. First, we can consider Bhutan, second as Nepal, our neighbors, Himalayan neighbors. So, you can see two of the 5 fingers, Nepal and Bhutan, right. So, two of these, Bhutan, India had the friendship treaty or let us say perpetual peace treaty that was signed in 1949, and this was renewed in 2007 as friendship treaty. And second, we had let us say peace treaty with Nepal in 1950, which is yet to be renewed, renewed. Now, the article is talking about while the Bhutan relations were very successful and this renewed treaty was let us say appreciated. Why it was appreciated? Because in this the clause of to be or the foreign policy of Bhutan to be guided by India, this clause of earlier treaty was dropped in 2007, and that is why the friendly relations continued with Bhutan. However, this Nepal treaty and the it has not been changed with the changing times, and therefore, it is India can look forward for it to improve its relations with Nepal in recent times. Okay. And then then the it is also talking about Sikkim, the third finger here you can see the Sikkim. Now, for the Sikkim, in initial years India had tried to annex and then annex this Sikkim region, and then it became 22nd state in 1975. Okay, it became 22nd state of India in 1975. In this manner, we tried to let us say have these all 5 fingers in favorable of India, right. So, Arunachal Pradesh is the part of India now, Bhutan has friendly relations with India, Sikkim is the part of India, Nepal has friendly relations. Up till now we can say that there are some conflicts, and Ladakh is the part of India. Yes. So, we can say largely such kind of policies were let us say successful in initial years. Now, India's policies toward Tibet. Now, what was this point towards Tibet? We know that in 1950s or let us say aftermath of 1962 war, the Dalai Lama and his followers had come to India, and that point provoked China, and that later the developments into 1962 war between India and China. Now, the India's favorable policies towards Tibet and its leader, until now we know that there is one leader of Tibetans, the Dalai Lama, appreciated all over the world, However, who is going to be his successor, that is a big question here, and how India is going to have policy towards the future Tibetan generation, that we have to decide, and that become very important part of Tibet, because China is continuously influencing the trying to influence the Tibet region and dictate its terms on that region. Okay, so these three prong foreign policy, we have to look forward into these things. Managing the border, that a new service, even the two of the northeastern states in 2019 have demanded to renew these services along the frontier region. Okay, so that's why we can reconsider to start that as a pilot project. Indian government can start that. So this was the essence of that article, and very important article for your examination. You can directly use these terms: Mao's 5-finger policy and India's 3-prong policy response, foreign policy response to it. Okay. The second article again related to India and China relations and the recent standoff between India and China at the border. The editorial page, left hand column, disorder at the border. Okay. So the article is important or significant in terms of its wording. The same thing is it is talking about. First, we can say that all the developments are given in the first part, that what is happening in the Galwan Valley of Ladakh region, and then how Galwan Valley is significant for, or has the strategic significance for Aksai Chin region, access to Aksai Chin region for India, and then how the recent let us say developments happen in that region. At the same time, it is talking about the way forward, or what should be India's response. The first, it is talking about that India or the government should apprise the nation or the people of nation. Even the opposing parties are demanding that what is exactly happening at the border or in that border region along these certain points where Chinese army is trying to infiltrate into Indian territories. And second, it is talking about government must conduct the full investigation of Galwan clash and put out clear details of lives lost. So this is the second aspect it is talking about. And third, it is talking about that there should be ensuring of accountability of Beijing for this standoff and we can say death of Indian soldiers. So what we find important for your examination is the conclusion part here. Without a full restoration of status quo ante. Status quo ante मतलब क्या है कि अप्रैल से पहले या जो थोड़े दिन पहले जो स्टैंड ऑफ होने से पहले का जो भी सिचुएशन था, वहाँ स्टेटस को होना चाहिए, वापस से वहाँ हमने जाना चाहिए दोनों साइड से. So reparation for the casualties, as well as some honest commitment to abide fully by any agreement. Talks without Beijing at this point might not mean more than empty words, right? So basically the article is very good, well written, and such kind of language you should use in your international relations GS2 part. Okay, questions related to that. So this was the editorial part. Then some important articles that appeared on later pages. This is the article, with China India will have to be Atmanirbhar. अभी आपको पता ही होगा आत्मनिर्भर वर्ड क्यों यूज़ किया है, क्योंकि अभी ने आत्मनिर्भर अभियान शुरू किया है पीएम ने, राइट. तो उसी बात का ये एक वर्ड जो है आत्मनिर्भर मीन्स सेल्फ रिलायंट, सेल्फ डिपेंडेंट, ये वर्ड यूज़ किया गया है, राइट. सो व्हाट इट इज़ टॉकिंग अबाउट the Atmanirbhar here in page number 9, with China India will have to be Atmanirbhar. Fine. So here why it is saying that India should be self reliant. Keywords in the article: Wuhan spirit. So Wuhan spirit carried forward by Mamallapuram visit of Chinese president in India, and then Russia, China, India dialogues. Then there is BRICS regional bloc, and then there is Shanghai Cooperation Organization. This was in recently news because India as well as Pakistan became the permanent members of SCO. Now the article is saying that India should be self-dependent, or whatever the foreign policy it decides should be self-dependent, and it should not be influenced by others, especially Western countries led by USA. So why it is saying like that? Because during 1962 war, yes, we can say that there were the problems in the what you can say border region. However, the present situation is different. Present situation is different. Even during the Kargil war, the situation was different. During the Kargil war, the situation was very different. How? Because at that time there were infiltrators into Indian territories, and it was not appreciated by world other countries at that time, okay, and therefore they criticized Pakistan at that time. However, here at the present situation, China is having stronghold in the world order, economically especially, and therefore other countries will only, let's say that the problem should be solved through dialogue between bilateral, or in the bilateral relations, okay. So that's why it is talking that yes, India should be Atmanirbhar, or self-reliant, self-dependent. So these developments, Wuhan spirit, it is informal talks between the heads of two countries, and then the developments between these two countries or relations are done on the, let's say, visits, in that bilateral visits, and then the Russia, China, India dialogue is there, and then BRICS is there. All these dialogues where India and China bilaterally or multilaterally involved with each other, okay. So the article is saying that though India is the part and China is the part of this organization, it is not proving helpful for, let's say, bilateral border problem, okay. So that's why we have to be Atmanirbhar. The next article, again a very important article, is China's peaceful development over. Now this article appeared in the foreign page. Now foreign page is your page number 14, is China's peaceful development over. Okay. Now what is peaceful development of China, or peaceful rise of China? Here you can see that the peaceful rise specifically was the message from China, or its earlier president Hu Jintao. He coined the term that peaceful rise. It was the message to USA and its neighbors, or let's say China's neighbors including India, that its rise will not affect these countries, its neighbors as well as USA, and therefore these countries did not have any problem with economic rise of China. However, it is saying that, the article is saying that, is China's peaceful development over? Now how can we, let's say, conclude that yes, the peaceful development is over? There are some arguments, and what are those arguments? See here, the major developments post COVID-19. Now what are these developments? One by one. 2 months ago, Chinese vessels had entered the waters of Malaysia and Vietnam. We know that there is problem of South China Sea, where China is aggressively pursuing the policy, or we say expansionist policy in that region. Next point is, last month Chinese Coast Guard ships pursued Japanese fishing boats in waters claimed by both countries. Now we know that there are also disputes in East China Sea, or that region where it has conflict with Japan, some islands, okay. China is basically creating artificial islands in South China Sea and then claiming the territories. Okay. And what is important point here is South China Sea 9 dash line for prelims examination. Okay. Then the recent India China standoff at border, here it should be standoff. Then a Chinese J-10 fighter briefly entered Taiwan's air defense zone in recent times. That is again suggests that it is not having peaceful rise, rather it is following the aggressive expansionist policy. Now, when Australia pushed for investigation into pandemic, then Beijing punished the country by imposing trade curbs. Again, it is showing that it is not peaceful. Also, the anti-China protest in Hong Kong or pro-democracy protest in Hong Kong, the Beijing is let us say dominating those protests or curbing those protests or freedom of voice there, freedom of expression through new national security law being let us say imposed in the Hong Kong in recent times. All these developments suggest that yes, the China is let us say not following the peaceful development post pandemic or post COVID-19 pandemic. Okay. So, such kind of question can be expected in your mains examination. All these developments should be written in your examination, at least 4 to 5 developments should be written in your exam let us say answer in the examination. Fine, very important article. Again it is the article is talking about India-China standoff and the death of 20 Indian soldiers. So, freezing cold and tough terrain added to death toll. Now, this article appeared in page number 9 here, freezing cold and tough terrain added to death toll. Fine. So, what the article is talking, the keywords or the important developments, here it is talking about they died due to extreme temperature conditions. They died due to extreme temperature conditions, very low sub-zero temperatures in that region. And then after that clashes, army has revised the rules of engagement along line of actual control. So, earlier rules focused on let us say no pointing of weapons, no encircling, no blocking. You can mention that in your answer that yes, army had changed its rule earlier, and these rules, earlier rules were in tune with 1996 agreement between India and China. That agreement focused on let us say limiting the employment of force, military equipments along the LAC. Okay. So, we can mention that. Also it is believed that some soldiers swept away in Galwan river and rescue at that altitude during that time is extremely challenging. Okay. Now, let me give you some brief information which is also beneficial for your prelims examination, that Galwan Valley region and Galwan river. So, Galwan Valley is the region which is located along line of actual control in Ladakh region, and that region through that valley actually the Galwan river is flowing. This river originates in Aksai Chin region and then it enters into India, and it is tributary of Shok river, which is itself tributary of Indus river. Okay. So, these are the rivers which are flowing through Ladakh region, and we can let us say in the prelims we can expect such kind of question. Basically it is talking that the terrain is very difficult terrain, tough terrain, and the temperatures are sub-zero temperatures, and therefore it is saying that extreme temperatures are, we can conclude from that the tough terrain and extreme temperatures are an important geographical determinants of border management along India and China. Okay. So, this is important conclusion from that, and this should be, or the question that can be framed on this aspect is that discuss the geographical factors influencing management of India's border with its neighbor. Now, such kind of question can be expected in your examination. Geographical factors, here it is talking about two geographical factors, tough terrain and let us say sub-zero temperatures. Okay? So, that is the input that you should take from this article. Now, this article is again related to your international relations. Here it is talking about multilateralism post COVID-19. Now, this article appeared on the op-ed page, page number 7, multilateralism post COVID-19. Okay. Now, what is multilateralism? Where no one single or two countries dominate the world or international arena. That is called as multilateralism, where there are many countries which are having let us say equal or let us say almost equal level of say in the world order or international relations. Here the important words or key words for your international relations part, what is multilateralism, the word, and then the Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, and third it is talking about two words, Gulliver and Lilliputians. Let me tell you that the Gulliver and Lilliputians is not directly related to your multilateralism or international relations, rather it is the novel or let us say book, a satirical book wherein what happens is, let me tell you briefly that story. Lilliputians or Lilliput was one small island country where let us say the people with very small height, let us say 6 inches, their height was very small, they lived in on certain island, and on that island accidentally Gulliver, who is the citizen of Britain, enters. Okay. And then he let us say become the part of that country or let us say state, helps that government of that state, and these people, despite of being small in height, they were having very let us say lofty ideals, and they were let us say discussing very lofty ideals at their in their courts, and that is why the word satirical is used here. And in multilateralism it is also, the article is using that word here or the relevant word. Okay. So, not that much of importance, but yes, you may find that what is the meaning of this. Okay. So, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, or the world or the family, world is the family. This is the ancient philosophy that we have or India follows, and these are the foreign policy values that we have or always follow in international relations, and that should be our agenda in further strengthening these multilateral world order. The article is talking about that. The key words for prelims, the article has mention of various international organizations such as League of Nations. Now, League of Nations was formed after First World War, and it is talking about it that how withdrawal from League of Nations one by the countries has led to demise of that League of Nations. However, it is talking that those organizations like United Nations which are formed after Second World War, even many countries are leaving that. For example, recent withdrawal of USA from UNESCO. The article is saying that still UNESCO and those international organizations like UNHRC is there, these will survive, and this let us say protecting these organizations, protecting the multilateral world order is India's responsibility in future, and it should follow that. The article is talking about the essence of that article. Okay. So, multilateral organizations will not survive actually, survive despite of withdrawal by USA in recent times. India should support and protect multilateral order because it is in India's favor, and we need to patiently promote reforms. Now, the question can be from this reforms part, okay, the United Nations reforms or WTO reforms. So, question in your mains examination can be framed on these aspects. And yes, India is focusing on these aspects in international organizations, reforming these organizations and making them more and more inclusive in the present times according to present let's say changes. Okay, so such the article is talking about this. We will not go into details of these organizations because from time to time they will appear in the articles in future also. One by one we will see that, okay, whenever they come in news. Next, a prescription for equitable and effective care. Now, up till now we had seen the international relations part or the articles related to that. Now, this article appeared in your editorial page. It is talking about COVID pandemic. See here, this article, prescription of equitable and effective care. Basically, it is talking about Tamil Nadu model or Tamil Nadu government that is following at present, that bringing public and private healthcare together to effectively deal with COVID-19 pandemic. And what we found this article helpful for your examination is that the article is providing a direct way forward for your examination. Okay, so how to deal with this pandemic? Directly way forward. Here basically all private hospitals which have potential should take care of COVID-19 and COVID-19 patients. The government should support basic cost of COVID-19 care in private hospitals. Therefore, it is saying that the private hospitals should be supported by the government. Then every patient should be able to access medical care, okay, whether it is private or public hospital. Only patients with moderate to severe pneumonia should be admitted. Okay, those with mild symptoms, they should be allowed to have home quarantine. Then ICU care should be prioritized. Confidentiality of patients should be maintained, protected. Also, it is talking about staff providing COVID care should receive adequate training. It is talking about training, how to deal with the patient, how to deal with their family members, okay, and provided with PPE, personal protective equipment, so they should be provided, and the families of staff who died due to COVID-19, they should be provided with enough compensation. Okay, so directly way forward can be framed. What we liked, one more thing is conclusion of this article which can be directly written in your answer. It has 3 important words related to your healthcare. One is that the healthcare should be affordable, then accessible. Accessible means here basically available, not accessible, it is talking about available and effective. Okay, it is talking about these 3 aspects of healthcare for your COVID, and also it is talking about the response. The response should combine good science. So basically the response, it is talking about combining science, then it is talking about clinical reasoning, and then it is talking about human response. So some ethical angle is also there, human response, science is there, and clinical reasoning. So such kind of words can be directly written in your answer in the examination. Fine. So this was the article related to COVID pandemic. Then this article appeared on the op-ed page, maternal health matters, op-ed page number 7 here. Now what we found that this article is very useful for your ethics. You can take inputs from this article for your ethics. How? First, important terms for your ethics. First is medical ethics. This comes in applied ethics part. Applied ethics, जिसमें medical ethics आता है, and then the responsibility of state, or in theories we can say that the philosophy of duty of the king of Kautilya, okay, responsibility of state. So, these two important aspects they are discussed in the article or inferred from the article. What kind of question can be asked here? Profit, although the foundational value of private organization, should not be guiding principle during emergency situation. Do you agree? Justify your view. Now, what is given in this article is that many pregnant women were denied care in the hospital, and such incidents happened in various states including the capital Delhi. In Delhi also the pregnant woman was denied health care. At the same time in Telangana and in Noida, okay, so NCR region, here many incidents happen, like the maternal care was not provided, and we know that those pregnant women are at more risk, they are at more risk because of this COVID-19 disease. And in such situation we are not providing the health care to this section of our society at present, and that brings the ethical question here, responsibility of state. Okay. So, such kind of question. Second, responsibility of state, discuss the responsibility of state towards weaker sections of society during COVID-19 pandemic. Similar kind of article earlier in the Hindu newspaper related to Divyang people, and they are very vulnerable in COVID-19 outbreak and lockdown period. So, such kind of things can be included in your answers, like pregnant women, Divyang people, children, or we can say old age people. All these are weaker sections of society, and how the government is approaching to take care of these people during the lockdown and COVID-19 pandemic. So, similar kind of case study that can be based on this situation, like 25-year-old women in labor coming from COVID-19 containment area in Delhi was turned away by 6 hospitals and clinics. She finally gave birth outside AIIMS hospital. Similar cases were reported from states like Telangana and UP. In these challenging times, many private hospitals stepped back fearing infections, while larger hospitals have begun charging exorbitant amounts. So, identify the ethical issues involved in the above situation. Basically, it is talking about medical ethics as well as responsibility of state, both points, okay, and discuss the role and responsibilities of state in the above situation. So, such kind of case study can appear in your examination, and you can take inputs from this news. Now, this is very interesting article. Assessment of, now the prelims examination part or for articles for prelims examination have started from this point. Assessment of OIL, Oil India Limited well blowout impact begins. Now, this OIL blowout is sudden outpouring of let us say gases or oil from the well with very high pressure, and this has happened at Baghjan, or we can say Baghjan gas well in Assam, Tinsukia district of Assam, that had happened recently, and the let us say gas well caught fire, and there is let us say concern that in nearby ecologically fragile region it will have very negative impact, and therefore it is talking about bioremediation, the technique of bioremediation, which is important for your prelims examination now. Okay. So, all the article is basically focused, or the main important point is talking about is bioremediation of sludge. Sludge means basically the solid and liquid part mixed and it is flowing because of that let us say blowout. What is bioremediation? Here the line is saying that bioremediation is basically the cleaning of polluted sites through naturally occurring or introduced microorganisms for breaking down of these environmental pollutants like these, let's say hydrocarbons, or if there is oil spill, then also we can use this bioremediation techniques. Okay. So, what are the techniques that we can use? Bioremediation techniques, you can note them down. This is very important for your prelims examination, and the meaning of these techniques one by one we will see briefly. There are two types of techniques, one is in situ and second is ex situ. What is in situ? In situ means where bioremediation is done by introducing or using the microorganisms where the pollutants have, let's say the pollution has occurred, or the site, at site, that is called as in situ. Ex situ means what? Taking out the polluted material from that site to the other, let's say designated area, and then treating on that. Okay, that is ex situ. So, what are the techniques? Bioventing. Here in bioventing, air and minerals are pumped through well underground, or let us say polluted site of hydrocarbons or simple hydrocarbons, and then the naturally occurring microorganisms in that region, because of air or the oxygen and the minerals, they will start degrading those hydrocarbons at that site only. This is called as bioventing. Then what is biosparging? Biosparging means, let us say, pressurized air, pressurized use of air under water body. Okay, biosparging, here the sparging of air is done, and generally it is used for those let us say pollution sites where there is let us say underwater body or those sites. This is called as biosparging, and the microorganisms in both these techniques are present at that site only, naturally present. What is bioaugmentation? Here the microorganisms are introduced at that site, are introduced from other side. Okay, they are not naturally occurring. This is the difference, bioaugmentation. Fine. So, these are the in situ techniques. Then we can see the ex situ techniques like land farming. Now, what is land farming? Land farming is, as the word suggests, here the polluted material or the soil is taken out from the site, and in designated area that soil or the is deposited at that other site, and then it is farmed. Okay, that is called as land farming, and with the help of microorganisms again they can be, let us say pollutants can be removed from that let us say soil, contaminated soil. Here biopiles, basically biopiles uses both land farming plus composting. Okay, so biopiles means here basically the piles or engineered piles, engineered cells are erected in terms of piles, and then the contaminated area or the contaminated, let us say material from that pollutants are removed. Bioreactors, as the name suggests, there are reactors wherein the pollutants are removed, and composting, as the name suggests, we know that what we do in the compost, right. So, fertilization or fermentation process through the let us say microorganisms. So, basically bioremediation means what? Microorganisms, use of microorganisms, bio. Okay. So, this is important for your prelims examination. Fine. So, next article for your, or we can have practice MCQ on that topic, like which of the following is not an in situ technique for bioremediation, and there will be one, let us say ex situ technique like biopiles among the 3 in situ. Fine. Next topic, PM cares, court seeks government reply. Here we can see that article. Yes, page number 11, PM cares, court seeks government reply. Basically, there is one PIL filed in the Supreme Court, and the PIL is talking about the funds in PM cares should be transferred to another fund called as National Disaster Response Fund. Now, what is important for our examination? PM care fund and NDRF, National Disaster Response Fund. National Disaster Response Fund. So, the details about these funds, first is PM CARES Fund. Now, PM CARES Fund is Prime Minister's Citizen Assistance and Relief in Emergency Situation Fund, right. Now, it is let us say brought by the government after this COVID disease pandemic, and this is for the micro donations, to enable micro donations and individual donations by the people for to deal with this pandemic. PM is the chairman of body, while this is the public charitable trust. Okay, this is created through executive action, or the fund created through executive action, no statutory backing. Okay, no statutory backing, or the fund is not created under any act or law passed by government of let us say Parliament of India. Okay, and the contribution to this PM care fund will qualify for CSR, or corporate social responsibility, corporate social responsibility, okay, under Companies Act 2013. Okay, corporate social responsibility, and therefore they will enjoy certain tax benefits. The second type of fund that the article is talking is the National Disaster Response Fund, NDRF. Basically, this is the fund having statutory status and created under NDMA, National Disaster Management Act 2005, and under this act basically it supplements the SDRF, that is State Disaster Response Fund. It is not directly giving money to states to deal with any certain pandemic, rather it is focusing on filling up the gap of SDRF. If any particular SDRF is feeling or having certain not having adequate funds to deal with any let us say disaster, then the government comes in and fills in through this NDRF. Okay. So, what is SDRF then? The SDRF is State Disaster Response Fund, again created, statutory created under this act, and here the central government contributes 75%, again for important fact for prelims examination, and the remaining 25 by the state, or 90% for the special category states like northeastern states or the Himalayan states. Okay. And it is released in 2 equal installments as per recommendation of Finance Commission. That is also important for your prelims examination, and it is only to be used for the expenditure providing immediate relief for victims. Immediate relief for victims, not for any other purpose or building any certain infrastructure or any other kind of thing, long term infrastructure. So, practice MCQ on this topic. PM CARES is a charitable trust headed by PM, and National Disaster Response Fund has the constitutional status. So, such kind of the statement can confuse you whether it is executive fund, whether it is constitutional fund, or whether it is let us say statutory fund. Now, this article appeared in the economy page or business page. Here business page 15 number at bottom, AIIB clears $750 million loan to India for COVID-19 outbreak. Now, we have to understand that from this article, important for us is this AIIB. What is AIIB? It is Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank. Brief information about that. It is multilateral development bank. There is another Asian bank called as ADB, Asian Development Bank, and also this AIIB. Okay, Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank. So headquarter is in Beijing, and then it started in 2016. At present there are 97 members. What is important is China is the largest contributor, almost 50% with the highest voting rights, and India is the second largest shareholder in that AIIB bank with second highest voting rights. Okay, so this was a basic information about AIIB, and it has provided $750 million loan to India to deal with COVID-19 and creating certain necessary infrastructure and then safety nets for vulnerable section. All these things are to be covered under this fund. And at last, not that of importance, but yes, you can have that as a culture aspect or cultural aspect for your prelims examination. Here the topic is talking about elderly Kamwariyas. Now Kamwariyas, who are Kamwariyas or Kamwar Yatra? This is important for your prelims examination. Kamwar Yatra, basically these Kamwariyas belong to Bihar, and the Yatra says that carrying Ganga water on the shoulder from Haridwar or Gaumukh or Gangotri in Uttarakhand to the Sultanganj where they live. यहाँ से वहाँ तक वो क्या करेंगे, वो इतने डिस्टेंस तक वो क्या करेंगे, वॉकिंग, तो गंगा का पानी जो है वो कंधे पे लेके चलेंगे. So basically the petition by one is filed in Delhi High Court that the people above 60 age or age of 60 years should not be allowed to go in this Kamwar Yatra, as they pose threat for themselves as well as family members. Fine. So these were the important articles from today's newspaper, and let us have a look at important captions and quotations from today's newspaper. They will be repeated. Like for IR, there was Tibet being the Mao's 5-finger policy, basically, which are the 5 fingers. Then pandemic has amplified many inequalities and shows up sharply the state's abdication of responsibility for prevention of lives lost. Okay, or peaceful rise of policy of China to assure other countries, especially, or the peaceful rise policy of China. Then what the other two important points they are talking about COVID-19. We have seen that treatment should be available, affordable and effective, and response to this pandemic should be combination of good science, clinical reasoning and human response. Okay, so so these were the important articles. These captions should be, let's say, used in your examination directly, or in essay also you can use these captions. And yes, for further information related to our foundation batch, you can contact Lukman IAS. Thank you.